Hello friends, this is Scott. We're down at the hobby farm looking at this, the ugliest part of my hobby farm at the present time, other than the big pile of dirt in the back, is this front yard. Now I was able to, just through watering over last year and this year, I was able to rehab the grass over by the fruit trees that I planted in those rings, and that grass has really come back, but front yard, not so much. The previous owner just gave up and quit watering the lawn. Didn't want to pay the water bill. So for years, this, Mother Nature's the only thing that put any water on this lawn. But it didn't do well in the west-facing front yard, and so I need to try to fix this so that when I pull up to the house, I don't look at this mess. So anyway, I went over to the nursery, and I spent about $90 with tax on a 1 cubic yard of the best topsoil they have. And it's, I don't know how great it is, but we're going to use it today because I didn't have anything else to use and I needed a quick trip down. So brought it down and just backed onto the lawn. I wasn't going to hurt any with the truck. Couldn't do any worse. So I'm just taking a shovel and just spreading it out. I did weed and feed about a month and a half ago. And so it did kill some of the more aggressive bindweed, or I don't even know what some of this weed stuff is. So I'm going to try to do it the lazy way. And instead of trying to rip all the grass up and till it in and reseed or sod, I'm just going to put this down in the more bald spots or dead spots, this topsoil. And I'm going to use October weather, which is cooling down, and with some water and a little bit of rain. And I'm going to see if I can get it to sprout with a little bit of the temperatures. We're still going to be in the 60s and 70s for probably most of October. So I should be able to get the seed to sprout. And then I'm hoping that I can keep it wet enough that the grass seed will grow and will not die. Now, the biggest problem I have is I'm not down here every day, so I can't just water it every day. So I've got to, try to put a good layer of this down, and I'm going to rake the seed in after I put it down, so that hopefully this it'll stay wet for a few days in between my trips. And when I'm down here, I can water a good 2-3 days solid, but those 2 or 3 days in between my trips is when I'm afraid that I need Mother Nature's help, let's just say. So I don't know how far this truckload will go. I didn't want to overload my truck. Soil's pretty heavy, and my truck's getting old, and I'm waiting for my suspension just to kind of give in. So it's holding in there, but it's starting to make a little bit of noise with all the material that I'm hauling. But so about a cubic yard of dirt is all I'll bring. I'll bring a couple of cubic yards of bark or those types of materials because they're a lot lighter. But this stuff is it's soil, and so it's heavy. But nothing fancy, just spreading it around and just trying to get a fairly even mix. I am just hitting the bald spots because I don't have enough to do everything. So I was able to, as you see here, get most of the bald spots, at least on this side of the yard. I've got some more on the other side of the lilac bush I'll worry about next year. But just get enough dirt down so that the seed has something to sprout into. And again, next spring, I'm hoping I'll have good grass going, and I can just, again, weed and feed, and then get it going and water it in really good and have a really great summer and get this grass back. Now, I'm using Kentucky bluegrass only because it's all they had, so at IFA, and it's supposed to be a cold weather grass, which this is cold weather area. So I didn't bring a spreader down, so I'm just doing the old fancy using my hand method. I'm probably, I'm probably putting it down either too thin or too thick, but whatever. It is what it is. Grass will outcompete the weeds once it gets established, so I'm just wanting to get enough spots established that over time with watering, it'll push the weeds out and it'll all fill in. So, yeah, I don't know if this is going to be looking great next year or if it's going to take a couple of years for me to get this done. I didn't do it earlier in the year because of the fact it's been so hot and I can't keep water on grass seed. And grass seed, you got to keep wet. If it dries out, it dies. It's funny because grass always grows up in your flower beds, and it's funny how it's so hardy when it grows where you don't want it to be, but when you're trying to put it where you want it, you got to take care of it. So, yeah, I'm just hand spreading it out, and as you see here, I got a lot of spots that are way too thick. But I took a rake. I didn't show that part, but I just raked it all around and walked on a little bit. So hopefully I've got good enough coverage that it'll do well. And then the final step is just water it in really good, which I did this trip. And then next time I'm down, I'm going to water again and keep watering. But I decided I had some dry pasture grass or drought-resistant pasture grass seed. So I decided I was going to, do the pasture also. And there's a look at the seed. And this is a dry land mix, so hopefully I'm not doing anything fancy. I didn't bring anything down to cover it up with. I'm relying on cool temperatures and Mother Nature and just the seed itself, that this stuff is drought hardy, and once it gets wet, it'll start growing. And I am going to water it in every time I'm down here and see if we can get it to grow. I did notice in the pasture that, because my grass was so tall and went to seed, I have a lot of natural grasses coming up anyway. So this will hopefully thicken it up and maybe give us a few more varieties to add to the pasture mix. But I think even without this seed, I think I'd have a pretty good pasture going next year. And it is thickening up. I've got some bald spots, but a lot of where those bald spots are right there, you see, with some gopher damage, that's going to be where the chickens are in the chicken run and coop. So that's not going to matter anyway. So, beautiful day, and I'm just wandering around and just putting the seed out, just as fancy as I can get, as scientific as I can get, as you can see. But this is wishful thinking. I've had this seed since spring, and I just need to get rid of it because I'm just afraid I'm going to be too late. I throw it out once it gets so cold that it's not going to warm up enough to germinate the seed, and it might rot the seed out. So I needed to get it out now, and hopefully myself with a little irrigation and Mother Nature will get enough water on it to get it growing, and maybe there'll be some clover in this. I didn't read the bag as to what all's in there, but all this activity brought some interest from my former tenants that still have access to this pasture, but they've eaten it down to nothing. So they're hungry. They need to get moved on to somewhere else because they've eaten all this food in this pasture. But yeah, they think the owner's got a treat or the neighbor's got a treat. They're all about it. So yeah, they're a lot more friendly when they're hungry. Looks like. So yeah, just to give you a close up of the mother and the horse. The baby wasn't so brave. He did come over, but that was a little bit later. But yeah, we're all settled in well, but just in time for them to leave. And I think the horse will be back, but I think the mama cow and the calf might be in the freezer. I'm not sure exactly, but that's the neighbor's call. But so there's what I usually look at when I pull in, and it doesn't look great, and I want to be happy when I pull in the driveway and see this place, because everything else is coming around and looking pretty good, and this is the first or the last eyesore in the front yard anyway, other than that big stump I've got to remove. But anyway, thanks for watching this video, and let's hope for some thick grass next year and just more to mow, but I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button, like, share, and comment, as I'd love to hear from you. Thank you.